Well, howdy. I am your professor, Dave Gewen. I don't have a bit of problem with being called Dave. Matter of fact, you could probably call me whatever you want. Whatever you're comfortable with, I don't have a problem with. Couple of things. I'm not a normal professor like you may have dealt with before. That is, I did not go straight through school and come out and be a professor. Um, I had a much more interesting life than that. In that, well, as I'll give you an example. Probably most of you already have something that I do not have and never will have. I do not have a high school diploma. I do have a master's degree, but I do not have a high school diploma because when I was a young man, I was a horrible student, and eventually they asked me to leave. They invited me to leave high school. They thought it would be better if I just went and found myself something else to do. I'm a reentry student. When I left school, I ultimately ended up going into the Air Force, finished my time in the Air Force, and then came out and started working in construction. And I worked in construction for, oh goodness, 15 years before I had an accident out jogging one night. And that precluded me from ever going back to doing construction again. So I went back to school, and boy, I was very much ready to be a student when I came back to school in my 30s, and went straight through from there. I am a permanent member of Alpha Gamma Sigma at Mount San Antonio College. Alpha Gamma Sigma is or was, I don't even know if it's still there. Wow, that's what happens when you get old. A permanent member of Alpha Gamma Sigma, which is the honor society at the community college level. Graduated here, or graduated at Mount Sac with my AA transfer, and then went over the hill because I lived in Azusa at the time. Went over the hill and got my bachelor's at Cal State Fullerton. Graduated with honors there, focused in both interpersonal and intercultural communication. And if you stick around a little while, you'll figure out that those two things they overlap quite a bit. From there, I went down the road a ways to Cal State Long Beach for my master's. There I focused into performance studies because I was a forensics competitor and coach. Forensics, if you haven't been exposed to it here, is the competitive speech and debate. And they hired me at Long Beach to be their assistant director of forensics while I was getting my master's. So forensics, performance studies, and communication in the classroom. I knew from the second month of my first public speaking class that I was going to be a professor, and I was going to come back and teach at the community college level. So I focused a significant amount of my studies into communication in the classroom. As we go through the semester or the session, you are absolutely free to ask me basically anything you want to know about my life or anything that comes up in conversation. Most of us in this course will be meeting together at 7:25 so that you can actually talk to me basically anytime you want. Beyond that, of course, I'll be having office hours, and the rest of the time you have email for contacting me. You can either do email through the Canvas system, through messages in there, but if you want to get the fastest responses from me, then you should send it to my private email address. That's dgewen@verizon.net. That's the one that I get here in my house, and I check that one a couple of times a day at least. When there are assignments due, I look at it much more often because I will be inviting you to send me rough drafts before the due date so that you can rewrite them. In any event, you've obviously found your way into the class here or into our course here in Canvas. And I just wanted to remind you that you should go back through and look, make sure you've read the things on the home page, make sure you've read through the welcome letter and the welcome module, the important information module there, and get through the syllabus. That will get you ready, especially if you get into the textbook and start reading, because by next week we're going to be talking about content. This week is mostly just to make sure everybody's here, to get all of the tools we need necessary downloaded, or make sure they work. In the important information, there is a page there that has lots and lots of links to it. If you're having trouble with the IT, if you're having trouble with your password to get into ELAC, if you're having trouble with Canvas, if there are certain things that you need help in Canvas, I have some other links for things to the library, to counseling and that kind of thing. So you may be able to find what you're looking for in there. But for this week, view the things that I've recommended you view, read the things that I've recommended you read, and make sure you get in and start with the discussion, because your answers in the discussion for this week will be used for our discussion next week. So it is an assignment, it is graded, it's got points assigned to it, and you should get to that, because like I said, we're going to use them. So welcome, and I look forward to talking with many of you, hopefully all of you eventually, and we'll get started on it, okay? Anyway, thanks for showing up.